shift gears from looking at some of our specific resources to doing a general overview of some of our resources. So I am going to go ahead and get our screen share back up so that we can view our slideshow. One of the things I also want to highlight about PAC Career Chats before we do move on to our next part is that PAC Career Chats also has a series that I'm very fond of called Career Clips. Career clips are shorter. They're usually 1 to 2 minutes longer, and they're going to be really focused on career exploration, informational interview type clips. Those can be really good for your students who are in that exploring phase or students who just want a little tidbit. I know for me, sometimes listening to a full podcast can be a little challenging. It's not for everybody. Some people love them, some people struggle with them, but a 1 to 2 minute clip can be extremely beneficial. So I would recommend, if you're looking for a little tidbit of PAC Career Chats, the PAC career clips are really nice to have in there, and they are focused specifically on career exploration, kind of as a complement to the career identity program, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So one of the first resources that I do want to kind of point everyone to is our website. I know you'd be surprised how many times students will ask, no, you wouldn't, you all work with students. How many times they'll ask a question and you're like, hey, have you looked at our website? Because generally speaking, the answer is probably somewhere on our website. But our website is going to be kind of the place where students can find, and you can find answers to a variety of different things and see some of the programs that we do. We are going to talk about a lot of them, but there's going to be even more on here that students can access. And one of the big pushes, I know for me especially, is helping students get help on demand. Students, when they want help with a question, if they can't find the answer right then and there, they may decide, I'm not going to worry about that then. It may fall off their radar. So if a student is ready at 11:32 p.m. on a Tuesday night to find out how to write their resume, I want to make sure they have access to some of that information then and there. So a lot of our focus is getting that on demand types of programming up and ready for them. Some of that will be housed on our website. Some of that is going to be housed on different places. But when in doubt, you can always point students to these websites. So what are the different types of student resources that we offer in the Career Development Center? Excuse me. There we go. That's better. The good thing is I do want to let you know, I know many of you are taking notes. We are going to make sure that you have access to this entire slide deck as a part of a toolkit that we will be putting together for you after training. So that's where you're going to be able to find slide decks, other resources, your badge that you will get, as well as some other really cool things will come later in the month. So definitely know you will have access to all of this. Student resources. So of course, there is going to be one-on-one support for students. Every student at NC State has a career counselor assigned to them if they are a degree-seeking student based on their college and their year. So that is something that they will have access to be able to sit down and meet with someone, either one-on-one or in a group setting. Marcy and I both teach career-focused courses that are for academic credit. So we do have some of those programs that are a little more structured for students who might want to explore majors and career paths in USC 202. Maybe they're interested in getting career-focused leadership and being a career ambassador. That has a course. There's also the USC 401, which is a senior transitions course. We like to call it Adulting 101. I needed that class severely when I graduated. Marcy teaches that. And then Marcy also teaches a Women in the Workforce honors course, which is really exciting and a little bit newer, but that's a wonderful course that students can also take that are career-focused courses from our office specifically. Looking back at that online, on-demand support, we have the PAC Pros program. I cannot tell you how many times students are like, how do I write a resume? They want to come in and meet with us to learn how to write a resume. That is online. They can get it on demand at 11:32 p.m. if they're like, I need to know how to do this. PAC Pros will help them with that. PAC Pros is going to teach students in short videos, 10 minutes long or so, resume writing, cover letter writing, interview skills, how to negotiate salary, how can you be successful at your first internship, how can you prepare for a career fair. So PAC Pros is going to be a professional development certification that students can complete that's going to have a lot of that information, and all of it is online for them, which is very, very convenient. We've actually seen more students go through PAC Pros and get certified now that we put it online. So that is something that we recommend pointing students to when they are looking specifically for that. How do I get started? What do I need to do as far as, writing a resume? Rather than necessarily sending them into the office immediately, they can do that first. The Career Identity program we are going to go in depth on in a little bit. That is our signature program designed for first-year students to help them explore majors and careers that are a good fit for them. That program is really designed to help them find who are they, what matters to them, what kind of life do they want to have, and then to make that classroom to career plan to really figure out, what am I going to do with my time at NC State? Because we know there's so many cool things they can get involved in. Career Identity is really that starting point for first-year students at NC State when it comes to our office and our programs. The Focus 2, we are also going to get into depth on. That is a tool that I think a lot of people really enjoy. It is a very user-friendly career exploration tool and assessment that will help students to look at majors and career options. Once again, it's online, it is on demand, and it is free for students, faculty, and staff. So we will look at that a little bit more. Focus 2 is also a part of the Career Identity program, so it's something that we are really excited to be able to offer to students. And it is customized to NC State's majors and minors, which I think is a very big bonus, so to speak. And then we have EPAC. Pam Rose knew all about EPAC. EPAC is NC State's online career hub. It is kind of your virtual dashboard for what events we have on campus, how to make an appointment with your career counselor, who's coming to this career fair, when is this career fair, what jobs are open, what internship opportunities are out there, how can I find a co-op? All of these things are going to be on EPAC. EPAC is going to have a lot of really great resources, including Career Shift and Glow and Global, which are both additional job search tools for NC State students. EPAC is kind of where we send students. One of the biggest pushes, I would say, for partners who are encouraging students to use EPAC is also to encourage them to keep their profile up to date, because they do need to update their profile when they change majors, when they change years, to make sure that they are seeing the most up-to-date relevant information and that they are getting connected with the correct career counselor. So I see Brian Peters says that we use Focus 2 in exploratory studies and inter-college transfer programs and encourage students who use it who come into change of major advising. That's exactly what it's for. I think so many times students come into our offices because they're like, well, either I know that this is what I want or this is not what I want, but I have all these interests. How do I narrow it down? Focus 2 is a great way for that. It's also a good tool to research. Maybe you have a student who's in your office who's like, I know what I want to do with this. I know that I want to major in psychology, but I don't know what I can do with that degree. Focus 2 is set up in a way that really makes it easy for students to find the information they need and to do research on careers. So Donna asked a question about EPAC. At what point do new students appear in the database? So that is a great question. I will have to check with Eddie on when we do our uploads. At some points we had said summer, sometimes it is, a week or so into classes. Generally, it is around when classes start. The students will get an email that they have their EPAC activation has happened and then they need to go set up their profile. But I will double check with Eddie. I'm going to write that down to find out when those uploads happen. We're currently kind of figuring that out. It's a little bit different this year since we are making a couple changes with EPAC assignments and things like that you'll hear about in a little bit. So do we have any other questions about the resources on this page before I move forward to cover more resources? Career counseling, courses, career identity, PAC Pros, Focus 2, and EPAC.
I have a question.
Sure.
about the Pack Pros and the videos and things like that. I'm assuming that's you have to log in to access those.
Yes.
Is that restricted to just students to be able to log in and view those, or can we log in and view those as well?
You also would be able to. The Pack Pros and career identity programs, as long as you have a Unity ID, you can log in and take part in those programs. They're both housed in Moodle, so they are Moodle project spaces. So with that, anyone who has a Unity ID can log in and view those as a student would. Great question. All right. As we move forward, if any other questions come up, definitely feel free to pop them in chat, and I'll check in after we cover the next page of resources. So the next bit of resources that we offer in our office, we have our career guide. So our career guide is a publication that covers a lot of our resources. Students love this. Specifically, I think the most loved part of the career guide is the resume examples. There are pages and pages and pages of example resumes based on different industries, different majors, different years that students can use to kind of base their resume off of, because we all know and we all tell students don't use a template, but it can be really helpful to have examples of good resumes to go off of. And the career guide is available virtually, once again, keeping that on-demand kind of service in mind. And we also will have some print available as well for this year of the career guide. It's going to cover an overview of our services, how to prepare documents, how to prepare for career fairs. It is really great to use in classes where you are doing those professional development activities to share with students. It can be very helpful when a student is late at night, maybe they can't get to someone and they do want that help. They want those examples of cover letters. They want to look at that information. The career guide is a great publication to get them kind of connected with. Career fairs and events. There are so many things that go on campus. We have on-campus recruiting that comes back this year. There will be some of that happening. The engineering career fair this year is going to have one day in person and one day virtual for fall. There are a variety of career fairs on campus that happen throughout the year. There are career events we have. So one of our big ones that we do every year is CareerCon, which is a one day, usually on a weekend, kind of prep event for students who are going into their job search. So we have events and career fairs that students can find all of these either on our website or on ePack. We like to keep all of our things updated in ePack, but this is a great way for students and all of you to get involved with the things that we're doing on campus, both virtually and in person. We also have pre-professional services. So when you have students who are interested in pre-health, pre-law, pre-medical, pre-dental, any of those areas, we do have programs and services within our office, as well as a soon to be hopefully new person in that role to cover our pre-health and pre-law students and make sure that they know the specific things that they need to be doing to be competitive in those programs and to be able to move into those pre-professional programs. We also have the co-op program. Co-op is a really unique program that I think is really beneficial, especially when you're looking at students in College of Sciences, engineering, business, and even in humanities and social sciences. We do have some for CHAS students that are specifically usually government and those types of positions, but co-op is a little different than an internship. Internships can happen during the summer. Internships can happen during the school year. They're less structured. They don't necessarily have a specific structure. Internships can be paid or unpaid. And internships are not necessarily controlled or kind of overseen by our office. We help students find them. We help them prepare for them, be successful in them, but we do not necessarily monitor those. Co-op is a little different. Co-op is a rotational work experience. So while a student may do internships during their summer or even while they're taking classes, co-op is rotational. So a student would go out after their second year, usually after their second year in classes, once they've gotten some major specific coursework. They go out on a full rotation, so they are working full-time, 40 hours a week for a co-op employer, and they are only paying the co-op fee. They do not pay tuition during this time, but they are still technically an NC State student, can live on campus if they are here, can utilize all the services on campus. They can go to the gym, go to football games, all that good stuff, but they're actually out working paid 40 hours a week. Then they're going to come back and be a student full-time again for a semester. Then they'll go out on 1 or 2 more rotations. So students who do co-op are paid very well. I believe the average salary for co-op last we checked is about 22 an hour. There's some more, some less. And they're graduating with a full year or 7.5 months of work experience. A lot of the times, I believe last I heard, it was about 90% of those students do get an offer if an offer is available within the company that they've co-opted with. So they do often lead to full-time offers. But it does extend the graduation time by 1 year usually. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. We always say if a student is interested in co-op, they need to come. Their first step is to come to an information session, which you can find the dates on EPAC or on our website. We have them throughout the year. But to see if it's going to work for them, it's better to plan ahead of time if co-op is something they're interested in. But it can be a great way for students to gain experience because we know that students need experience to be competitive in the workforce. Another program that we have that helps students gain experience is called Rural Works. This is an internship program that we have through our office that puts students into internships over the summer that are specifically in rural counties within North Carolina. This really speaks to our land grant mission here at NC State and gets those students paid experience in their major that is over the summer, partnering with our Rural Works employers. 2 other things we have Wolfpack style clothing closet. We know that students don't always have professional wardrobes for a variety of reasons. Some students may be financially challenged and not be able to go get attire for interviews or internships, etc. We have a service within our office. We will have our hours and how students can get those appointments on our website as well. We keep those updated. They change semester to semester based on staffing. But students can come in and get free professional clothing and they get to keep it. It's not a rent, it's not a borrow, they get to keep it. So it is donation based from the community. So if you ever know of individuals who are cleaning out their professional wardrobe, keyword professional, definitely keep us in mind because that goes directly back to NC State students so that they can be confident and accurately dressed for their professional opportunities. And then, of course, we do have PAC Career Chats, which we talked about a little bit earlier. Always have new episodes coming out, new themes. It's a really great resource for both you and your students who want to engage with our office. Students also can get free academic regalia. So students who are financially under-resourced and maybe are struggling to afford their academic regalia, they are able to borrow academic regalia from our office as a part of the Wolfpack style clothing closet, should they need to do so for graduation, because we think it's really important for students to be able to celebrate their graduation and not have to necessarily be worried about the financial implications of that, because it can be tough. So any questions now about the resources covered on this particular page? Career guide, career fairs and events, pre-professional, co-op, Rural Works, Wolfpack style, and career chats. Is there support for master's PhD students? That regalia is very, very expensive. Yes, it is. I am actually not sure if that's something that we offer. I can check. I want to say that I don't think that's something we do, but I will definitely check with Kelly Laraway about that to see if there is a master's and doc level regalia. And if there's not, I will let you know if there is or is not. Are students taught how to set up clothing like tying a tie, having professional clothing combinations, etc.? That is a wonderful question. And there's 2 answers I have to that. First, it will depend on who is working the closet. I will be very upfront. I actually don't know how to tie a tie. That's something I probably should learn. But we definitely do teach them how to put together an outfit. That is something that we help them do while we are working with them in the closet. So we make sure that what they're putting together is appropriate business or business casual attire. And we actually have an event coming up this year that is something we're bringing back from pre-pandemic times. I'm very excited about. We are doing the PAC Pros Fashion Show. So we will have that this semester. I believe it's in October. And it is an event where students can come on campus and see a fashion show to look at examples of, okay, what is business casual? What's business professional? What's appropriate to wear to an internship? What might I wear if I'm in a more creative field? And we really strive to make that an inclusive and representative event where we can show many styles, many body types, many different gender identities and different clothing choices. So the fashion show is another really great way that we try to make sure that our students understand professional dress. That is also a part of PAC Pros. They will have that kind of covered as well as what is professional dress. I believe that's in the career fairs one. Excellent question. Oh, so it looks like Parents and Family Services also has offered that, so we can potentially partner. Thanks, Carrie, for that. Any other questions about this really quick overview of our student resources? Great. We will go ahead and move forward into first year student initiatives. So this is all of the exciting new things that we are working on for this year. Some of you know me from the past, and I was previously in a role called Career Identity Coach, and now I am Assistant Director of First Year Student Initiatives. So we're really putting a focus on how we're serving our first year students, and there's going to be some changes in how we do that. So I wanted to make sure part of being a career champion, like we said, is being on that kind of cutting edge of what's going on in our office. How are we serving our students? So you're really the first ones to hear all of this, which is very exciting. So the Career Identity Program has been around for about 6 years now, 6.5. And that is still a focus for us, and it has changed. There's been some new iterations of it. Originally, it started as a very in-person, one-on-one kind of program. Now we're scaling it. We are really looking at scalability and really serving our increasing population. You know, we're going to have more freshmen this year than I think we ever have with the engineering college growing. So it's going to be a big class, and we want to make sure we're able to serve them. We also realize that resources are limited. So we only have so many individuals in the office who can do those one-on-one meetings. So we're looking at ways to scale that and still meet the needs of our first year students and our upperclassmen as well. Career identity is going to be that first line of interaction for our students. We want them to engage with our office, and we want them to understand by the time they actually come into our office to have a really good handle on what questions they need to ask and really what they're needing help with. So career identity is that focus for our first year students. Now, in the past, it's been open to all colleges, all majors, all years. That's not changing. That is not changing, but we are changing how we're marketing it. We are going to be really focusing more on the first year population for career identity, but we're not going to turn students away. So if there's a student who is a junior who is now kind of coming into this realization of, I don't know what I'm doing with my life and I really need help, you absolutely can still refer those students to career identity. Just know that some of the marketing and the materials may talk a little more about first year experiences than maybe in the past. So another way that we are going to be serving our first year students is group counseling sessions rather than one-on-one sessions. In the past, a lot of our students who come in for one-on-one sessions who are first year students, really we're finding what they are needing is a lot more of the PAC Pros information. They don't have the questions to necessarily ask quite yet. So what we are shifting to instead is a group counseling model where they'll be able to go on ePAC and find group sessions rather than as many opportunities for one-on-ones. Those opportunities will definitely still be there should a student really need to meet with someone one-on-one, but we are moving a little bit away from that. And instead, we're moving to first year appointments for all colleges being available in our office as short 10-minute triage sessions. Because what we're finding is, like I said, students who are coming in say, I feel like I need to be here. I was told I need to come to the Career Center, but I don't know what for. Okay, cool. In 10 minutes, one of our staff, our graduate students, is going to be able to sit down with that student and find them that first point of contact, whether that be career identity, PAC Pros, finding the resource that matches the student's needs and making sure they can get that, rather than immediately moving to one of the full-time staff members for a career counseling appointment, which often isn't really the case or the need. So first year students from any college on the campus can see that counseling calendar on ePAC to be able to meet with our triage counselor. And those 10-minute appointments will be pretty plentiful, so that hopefully students will be able to find something should they look for that. Drop-in hours are still going to be available. So that is something that any student can take advantage of, including our first-year students. So we will have virtual and in-person drop-in hours. Our hours will be on our website. So you'll be able to find those updated because they do change semester to semester. And we also will have that included in the toolkit. So a part of the toolkit will be a list of important links so that if you're like, hey, I remember there are drop-in hours and Courtney said that they'd be able to find that, it will be very easy for you to see the link to find the most updated hours so that you can tell your students the correct hours. Because we will have virtual most days, we will have in-person, and the in-person is really cool this year because we're going to have, I believe, 1 day in our office, but then we're going to have 2 days every week in the Academic Success Center. So there'll be multiple locations to try and be convenient for students for drop-in hours. And then, of course, PAC Pros is also a push for our first-year students to give them that on-demand, but also scalable resource of career readiness skills and intro skills, because many of them are just getting started with our office and they are kind of learning what questions should I be asking, what resources do I need, but of course, support is there for students. Are there any questions about first-year student initiatives, anything we covered here before we move forward? So Brian asked, have we seen an increase in virtual appointments? Last year, 70% opted for virtual advising when offered in person and online. I know that the majority of our appointments still are virtual. I am not sure the exact percentage of students who are choosing to come in person versus virtual, but I believe that the majority of ours right now really still are virtual. Some students do choose to come in person, but it's very small. So I think for us, it'll really be looking at this upcoming year to see what our kind of footprint is, because this is really us going back to in person more so for the first time since the pandemic, now that we're going. And I see Linnell has her hand raised. Hello, Linnell.
Hey, Courtney, remind me, because, you know, we did virtual classes for our USC 101 and 102, but remind me, I don't think you have career ambassadors that come to like those classes again. So remind me if we wanted to have like students have a whole holistic approach on looking at the Career Development Center as a first year student, what do we do again? And I know Brian's like, well, Linnell should know this, but I don't remember because we had some online classes for a long time.
Yeah, well, and things change. So I think that's a great question. What do we do when we get first year students? How do we get them plugged in? First and foremost, we do have career ambassadors. We have lots of them, and they are ready and eager to come to your classes and to help. So if you are wanting to submit requests for them to come to your classes, please do that. That will be a part of the toolkit. You also can find that request form on our website. All you need to do is request with at least 2 weeks in advance, and our career ambassadors will be really excited to come and help you. And we've got a great, wonderful grad assistant, Andy Dye, who helps to lead the Career Ambassador program and make sure that your requests are covered and taken care of. So that is one part of that. But if you've got a first-year student and you know that they need assistance from the Career Center, the best way to get them plugged into what we're doing really is going to be through either the Career Identity Program, if you feel like that student needs help with exploration, or that first year appointment through ePAC. So that 10-minute appointment with one of our staff is going to help them to kind of figure out what resource is the best for them. So that's what we would usually recommend, is getting them either in career identity if they're a first year student, if that makes sense, or helping them to find that first year appointment in ePAC so that they can really get the more tailored resource for their specific concern. Does that answer the question, Linnell? Perfect. Awesome. Great. Any other questions about first year students or new initiatives? Drop-in hours? Thank you, Marcy, for putting the link in there to request a career ambassador. I appreciate that. It's a good link to have. And like I said, the career ambassadors, they are fantastic. They are really excited to give some presentations. They do virtual, they do in person. They present to undergraduate students. If you have a request for graduate level students, still feel free to use that form, and we will make sure it gets routed to who it needs to get routed to for the career ambassadors. Marcy?
Yeah, I've been popping a lot of links in. I know Courtney is going to organize these all in this toolkit, but if you're like me during a session, I kind of open up the link in the next window and start digging into it. So I'll continue to show those to you because like you said, the Career Center drop-ins are kind of confusing. Some days they're here, some days they're in academic success, some days they're virtual. So we have that Go link now, and that's all going to be updated for fall. So students can just go to the Go link and see, oh, it's a Tuesday. Do I go to the library or do I go to Pullen? And we really encourage them to come in for those drop-ins because those are offered, I think, almost every single day, virtual or in person in one of the two buildings. So that's a great way for students to get started with that triage of questions they have.
Yeah, I think that, you know, if you take anything away from this is there's going to be more ways than ever for students to engage with our office, get the help they need. And I think that that can be a pro because the students are going to find a way to get to us, but it can also be a con because it's like, okay, which avenue do I need to send the students to? At the end of the day, if you are ever confused, or like, hey, I got a student, email us. Email either the main office, if you'd like to email, you know, me or anybody else in the office that you have a connection with, please feel free to ask us because we want to make sure that students are utilizing our services and that students are getting the help they need without a lot of barriers in the way. We know that technology can be a blessing and it can be a curse because, you know, the more steps, the more clicks you add, the harder it is for students to get what they need. And we are working now to streamline so many of our programs and services to make it easier for both you and our students to access it, particularly for me, a focus with those first year students, because we know that they are still learning how to be a college student, still learning how to find that information, you know, learning how to use websites and answer your own questions. That critical thinking, problem solving is something they're developing still. So we want to make sure they have that support.
Yeah, definitely, Courtney. And I guess also like into Linnell's question, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what I might say to a first year student is either go to the drop-ins, here's the Go link, or go to EPAC and set up your time if you want a specific time. Because the difference is second through graduates and young alums, they're assigned to a person. So you all know like Glenda Darrell is assigned to College of Engineering, but like Brian put in the chat, the thousands of new people coming in, she can't see all of those first year students. So I think our messaging maybe to students now is more first year students, drop-ins, EPAC, second through seniors. You still go to EPAC to make an appointment, but you do have your person. It might be someone decentralized in a college like Jeff Sakharoff for textiles, or Janet Rakes for PCOM, or it could be Sarah Lane for CALS. But then we have people in our office. Lindsay Veros is new for College of Sciences. We're hiring a new College of Humanities person. Those interviews are going on. We have DR Ingram, who helps with natural resources, and that list is out there. So that's second year through seniors. Is that a good way to say it, Courtney?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. So to kind of clarify, all first year students are going to be kind of under the umbrella of me and our team to kind of make sure that they are getting the services they need, the programs they need, but they're not necessarily assigned an individual specific career counselor until they are second year and beyond in those majors. Then they're going to get their college counselor like they have been before. The main difference being that those first year students have access to new group sessions, which myself and some of our graduate students will be leading to kind of develop this camaraderie. I think one of the things that first year students struggle with as well is not being able to make connections on campus and thinking, oh, everybody else in my major has it figured out. They know what they want to do, or, you know, they're smarter than me. It's that imposter syndrome. So having group sessions for those first year students also is going to help with hopefully some of that and help them see that, oh, I'm not the only one who doesn't have it figured out. I'm not the only one who failed chemistry their first semester and now is not going to med school anymore and now has no idea what to do with their life. But that's kind of the shift in how we are serving our first year students. Is it is going to be less of the assigned career counselor, more of the drop-ins, groups, and those first-year triage appointments. Thank you for that clarification, Marcy. Any follow-up questions on that before we move on to some deep dives? All right. So speaking of those first-year students, Career Identity is kind of our signature program that we have developed for first-year students. It is a program that is self-paced. It is hybrid, so students can participate either completely virtually or they can also come to in-person sessions. And the program is made up of workshops that are activity-based and interactive, specifically looking at values, your skills, your interests, taking a career assessment, which we will also dive into. Receiving support from mentors and coaches who know what it's going to take for them to be able to move forward, creating a plan. So like I said, what are you going to do with those 8 or however many semesters that you're here at NC State? Sometimes it's shorter, sometimes it's longer. So many times we get our first year students here and they're like, okay, I want to do study abroad. I want to do research. I want to take all these classes and I want to co-op an internship. They want to do it all. And that's awesome. And we know if they don't plan ahead of time for that, it can be tough to work in all of those experiences that they know that they want to have. So Career Identity is kind of a twofold program. The first part of it is helping them figure out, who am I? What is my career identity? How do I fit into this world of work and professionalism? What do I want out of a career? What kind of life do I want to have? So that very much intrinsic personal exploration part. And then the next part is, okay, let me do research on careers. Let me find out what's out there and let me make a plan to get to a goal, whatever that goal might be. So it is a certificate program. So students are going to complete, on average, it's about 7 workshops. And then there are coaching requirements that we are still finalizing for this upcoming year, but we believe we are going to be moving to, instead of having individual coaching appointments, as we mentioned, students will participate in at least one group session to be able to get that certification. Once they get the certification, they're going to be able to get a variety of exclusive rewards. So students get an endorsement on their LinkedIn from the Career Development Center saying that they've completed this program, which can be very beneficial for them when they're looking for internships. They're also going to get exclusive access to events and different things that we do in our office. So we are planning lots of exciting things for them to be able to do in the upcoming year. Additionally, they will receive swag. Everybody loves swag. So there's t-shirts involved, there's stickers. So there are those types of extrinsic rewards that we know students love as well. But the big thing they're going to walk away with, okay, I have a better idea of who I am, what I want for my time here, and I know how to plan. I know what to do when the plan changes, because we know, just like I share all the time that I wanted to be pre-med and I failed chemistry and I didn't know what to do. So helping students prepare for those moments of discovery, whether that be a failure that helps them realign their goals and realign their path, or if it's a new success that does it, we want them to feel confident and ready and know that they can handle whatever their professional growth is going to develop for them. So we do have pre-registration open right now for the fall. For students to go ahead and get on that interest list. Generally speaking, Career Identity opens in mid to late September. We want to give students time to get settled on campus. We want them to know where their food is, get in the rhythm of classes a little bit before they start doing this, because I'm all about Maslow's hierarchy. They can't work on this until they've got the other things kind of handled a little bit. So that's something that students are going to be able to take part in that's really going to help them to figure out that age-old question of, who do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do? We know that so many students, once they get ready for that Thanksgiving break and go home, maybe for the first time after getting here, people are asking, how are your classes going? What do you want to do with your major? And that can be a really stressful question, figuring that out. Marcy mentioned earlier, 2/3 of our students are reporting overwhelming anxiety. That's a lot. And I think that that's something that, for me, I know that I feel like a big part of my job on this campus is helping to reduce that anxiety for students in any way that I can. And if that means helping them figure out major and career in a way that is engaging, less stressful, then I want to do that. That's huge. So that's where career identity comes in. So what does it actually look like when a student's doing this? I think that's something everybody's like, okay, cool. It sounds like a great program, but what do students do? There's videos that they watch through Moodle if they'd like to do that, or they can come to live workshops. Some of the workshops are values card sorts, talking about the Focus 2, how to use it, and interpreting those results. We do a visioning activity where we say, okay, jump into the future when you are 35 years old. What does your life look like? And we have them do a creative activity on that. Then we do jump into, okay, how can you craft a vision statement for you, a mission statement, value statements? You know, you are your own organization. How are you going to move forward with that? We help them walk away with that kind of co-curricular plan, looking at what classes do you want to take? What supports do you need? What resources? So Career Identity has a lot of these more interactive workshops. And as I mentioned, it is hybrid. It is something they can come in person or online, depending on their preferences. And there is a lot of support there. So the students are going to get that exploration with a little more structure. And the great thing about Career Identity is that it is open to all colleges, all years, and it is non-credit bearing. So this is something that students, if they choose to engage with, will spend about 10 hours on completing the entire certification, about 10 hours, depending on how quickly they do it, 5 to 10, depending on how many in-person versus virtual activities they come to. So they don't have to enroll in a course. They can start at any point. So if there's a student who mid-semester realizes, I thought that biology was the right major for me, but now I'm not so sure, what do I do? They can start then. So you can refer students to this program when they come to your office in that kind of career crisis that we were going to talk about later. That's really what Career Identity is all about for students. So what questions do you have about Career Identity?
So you said this was available to any student at any level?
It is available to any student at any level. However, we are highly suggesting it is marketed specifically to those first-year students. Now, if you, like I said, if you have a junior in your office, someone who's like, I really don't know what I'm doing, I don't know what I want out of my career, that can still be a good fit for them. And we can recommend them to go through that online program. It's very much a option where they can do that. We're not going to turn a student away from the program. I don't recommend it for graduate level students. They do have access to it, but it's not necessarily going to be at a level that is appropriate for them content wise. So if you're looking for that, it may not be the best resource for them. But certainly if they want to access it, they are more than welcome to do so on Moodle to get the content, because it is there, it is available for students. But we recommend and kind of cater it most towards those first year students. And when we say first year, I think it's important to clarify, I don't just mean freshmen. We also mean first year transfer students. Yeah, so I do think it's great. I see Angela just typed it in. So yes, you know, I think it can be great for transfer students who are here and trying to figure out, where do I fit at NC State? What major at NC State fits for me? Maybe they're reassessing things. I think I still consider transfer students first year students in a lot of ways, because it's their first year here at State. So we recognize they may be on a tighter timeline, which I think is really great that Career Identity is self-paced now. It used to be that it was a full year program and that it was paced out intentionally. Now students can self-pace. So if you've got a transfer student who's like, I want to finish this in one semester so I can figure my life out, that's totally possible. So we do recommend it for transfer students as well as our more traditional incoming first year students. I really think this is a great program too for early college students. I think we're seeing more and more of those students who are coming in as credit juniors almost. They're coming in, you know, and they're still a lot of the times those 18-year-old students, and they still haven't done a lot of career exploration. So, but they don't have time to figure it out by trying different courses and using gen eds to kind of cushion that exploration period. So if you've got a student who is one of those early college students, I really think that can be a great program for them, because they may not have the time to take a USC class to explore different majors. They may need something that they can do while they are taking credits towards graduation. So that can be a really good resource for them as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you all asked about the transfer students, and I feel like there's so many different developmental stages people are in. So, and Linnell just commented on it too, because I know in exploratory studies, you have your USC 101 and 102, and then some people finish that and they're still needing more. And so one of the things that we do through our office, you heard about the career courses, one is USC 202, that's 2 free elective credits, but not everyone can take that. Plus that's twice a week. It's on your academic record. It's limited. So that's why career identity is on the menu as well. So some students might say, I want the 2 credit class. I want to spend, 2 hours a week thinking about this and focusing on this. I'm enrolling. The other one, Courtney, it's not more than really 9 hours out of the entire program. So we've taken all the things career exploration focused and said, well, what are the 9 hours? Kind of like we did with Career Champion. What are the 7 hours we think are critical? Of course, there's so much more they can do, and the follow-up conversations they can have with you about what they learned in career identity and how that's helped them. And if they feel like they're in the right direction, do they have this plan? How do they realign and pivot when their plan doesn't go in the right direction? So keep that in mind for when you're referring people. That career identity, definitely for all first-year students, I would suggest it. And then USC 202, maybe for those that really want to dive into something more in depth, they can enroll in that. I teach that in the fall and spring. And Courtney, you might have a sense of how many students have participated in one way or another. I know it's changed with the pandemic, and we're rebooting things as everyone is with all their programs.
Yeah, we definitely have had a lot of reboots happen. I think over the past with the pandemic, the program has changed a lot, but we still have, for career identity, we have, I think last I checked, we've had a little over 1,000 students who have taken part in career identities since it began 6 years ago. It started very small. It was limited, to 100 per year, 150 or so per year. But it's grown exponentially. So I think last time I checked, there were over 400 active users on the Moodle site, and that is deleting those who have already completed and have been inactive for over a year. So it definitely has picked up and is very much a utilized resource on campus for our students who are exploring. So, and part of that is going into Focus 2. So I will go ahead and preface, I am an absolute huge assessment nerd. I love these, and Focus 2 has been a really great tool, I think, for NC State students and faculty and staff. Focus 2 is very user-friendly. Focus 2 is specifically an activity, an assessment that is mapped to NC State's majors, which I think is really a unique piece of what we're doing. So what I want to do now is actually, instead of sitting here on a slideshow, is I want to take you into the Focus 2 to really show you what it's like, so that you get an idea of what a student's going to see, how to use it with a student, and then we're going to give you some time to also play around yourself. So if you will give me just a moment to pull that up, I will do so.
Yes, and break time is coming. I know everyone's been sitting for another hour, so quick overview of Focus 2, and then y'all get to play in it, and we'll build a break in there too.
Yes. All right, so to get to Focus 2, it is very easy. We have a Go link set up. It is go, I'm gonna type it in, go.ncsu.edu/Focus2. That is how you can point your students towards this resource. Anyone with a Unity ID can take the career assessment for free, which is great. It's very important to make sure you are on NC State's portal for Focus 2 so that you don't have to pay for it, which I think is really great. Nope. You. So we are going to go to the student website. And so when a student logs in, this is what they're going to see. It is a personalized career assessment that's going to start with what I call 3 pre-assessments. These pre-assessments are specifically looking at how much work have they done, how far are they in their career planning, what are their academic strengths, which can be helpful if you're an advisor sitting down with them and helping them choose classes or choose majors based on that. And then a new Am I Career Ready assessment. This is going to look at the NACE career readiness competencies and kind of give a student an idea of where they are on their career readiness journey. This is something that I will be honest, I want to work with the folks at Focus 2 to make a little bit stronger, because I think that students self-report higher than what they are actually ready for. So that's kind of a little 2 cents on that. But when a student does these, you can take it and retake it as many times as you want, and you can always view your results. So if I'm looking at my career planning, it's showing 3 different areas, and every different aspect of this is going to give you an information about your specific results. So it's saying I have a 3.15, so my medium score indicates X, Y, or Z. This is the thing I love about Focus 2, is that it does give the student personalized results. Same thing when you're looking at academic strengths. If you're an advisor and we can get you sub-administration access so that you can go over this with a student if that is something you're interested in utilizing. You know, let's say you have a student and they're like, well, I want to go into, once again, I use my example, I want to go into medical school. I want to be a psychiatrist. Okay, well, if you're an advisor and you look at this and you see, oh, I don't do well in math or physical sciences. Now that's not going to be a, you know, obviously, hey, well, I think you can't do that. That's more of a, okay, so tell me about that. What kind of courses are you thinking you're going to take? It's a great tool to be able to sit down with a student and really ask some questions. This saves you so much time in gathering information. It's going to give you a great baseline to start with for a variety of reasons when you're looking at advising. So then we really get down to the self-assessment part. If you are interested, Kristen asked a great question in sub-admin, please just email me directly about Focus 2 and I'll be happy to get you set up with sub-admin and to let you know where you can find some trainings and stuff on the administrative side of Focus 2, which is really cool. Self-assessment. So this is really, I tell the students very often that these are optional because really the power of Focus 2 is down here in these self-assessments. Generally speaking, Focus 2 is going to take 15 to 30 minutes for a student to complete. They can start and stop as they need, and that's, you know, fantastic. So this is going to look specifically at your work interests, your personality as it relates to work, your leisure assessment, your values, and your skills. Focus 2 is based in Holland Code or strong interest inventory type of assessments, but it's combining it in a new way. So some of them are going to be, tell me how much you would enjoy this, rate this, choose from a list. There's a variety of different ways it's going to do that. But the really cool thing is, once again, you can take it as many times and you can look at your results. So those of you who are familiar with Holland Code, you're going to get your Holland Code for this. It's going to tell students the strength of their results. It's also going to explain what that means to them. So what is an IAC? What exactly does that look like? What are the areas maybe that I'm not so interested in? So you can view individual results. The thing I love about Focus 2 is it's going to give you your Holland Code for your work interests, but it's also going to give you a Holland Code for your leisure. I think it's important for students to realize that their career is also going to determine so much about their potential future as far as their leisure time. So all of these are great. We're going to let you play around, so I'm not going to dig too far into them, but there is a button that I want to make sure you see. There is a combine assessment button. So once students have completed the 5 self-assessments, they can combine their assessments to get a list of best fit occupations. So this is a great jumping off points for students who are looking at what careers would be a good fit for me. So I always tell my students, do not panic. If you don't get anything in the 5s or the 4s, that's really normal. You usually will start seeing results in the 3s. But what you're going to see is you can actually filter by a degree level. So if you have a student who's like, I do not want to do grad school, you can unclick advanced degree, which is nice. But then when you expand these, you can start to see what are some good occupations for me. It's going to show you the name of the occupation, icons. So if there's a sun, it's a bright job, lots of hiring happening. If there's a little tree, it's a green job. It's going to show you supporting majors at NC State with links to the departmental websites. As we know, departmental websites change addresses sometimes. If you ever find a broken link, just email me and we'll get it fixed. We do our best to update them during the summer. You're also going to find salary information, job family, and then it shows which specific of your assessments it matched. So when I look at this, I can see that developmental psychologist matches my work interests, my values, personality, and skills, but not necessarily my leisure interests, which means I may not have as fulfilling of a leisure life with this particular career. Maybe, maybe not. Political scientist, then I go further down and can see other ones that match different combinations of my assessments. And the really great thing about this is that it's going to help students really explore options. I know, being a first generation student, I came in, I was like, doctor, lawyer, teacher. Those are my options. Those are the career options I have. I didn't know what a conciliator was. I didn't know the difference between a clinical psychologist or an experimental psychologist, much less a psychiatrist. I had no idea. So students can use this to explore those different jobs. So if you click on any job, it takes you to a job specific page that has an overview, tasks. It compares your work interests with the interests of the job to see what the fit would look like for this job, which can be useful when you are sitting down and talking with a student about it. If there's a big mismatch, you can say, okay, well, what does that mean? Let's talk about it. The skills. It's going to look at your values, and that's actually new for me. So it's got a little check mark if it matches one of your values or your skills that you selected in your thing. That's new. I like that. Focus 2 is constantly updating and improving on what they're doing, which is another reason why I love it. Working conditions. So I never thought, being a psychologist, I would end up with potentially conflict or potentially being around physically aggressive people, but that's included in some of the ones, and it can help students figure out what that might look like. It's going to tell them their educational requirements, specifically always focusing on NC State options first, which I love, but then it will also say other areas that maybe are at other universities, outlook, earning potential, and professional associations, all on one page. In addition to that button, there are also areas where students can explore. So if you have a student who's like, I know I want to major in psychology, well, guess what? What can I do with a major in blank offered at NC State? They'll get a list of careers that are a potential option for them based on their major. They can just look at different job families. If they're like, I don't know, I want to work in healthcare. Great. There's a button for that too. Then down here, there's some other areas. We don't use these as often, but you can put in information and use this to keep track of your own professional development and your occupations. You can save them to keep track of things, and you can print a portfolio. So the best way to learn about it, I truly believe, is to be able to dive into it yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my share. And I think it's a good time for us to let y'all dive into some Focus 2 and take